While rating agency Moody's retained India's outlook as stable despite the slowdown in GDP growth rate, Moody's has exuded confidence that India will overcome recent negative trends such as lower growth and slow investment. Moody's also said that poor business sentiment will gradually improve in the coming times. And rating agencies are creating ripples in the already struggling economies of the world. Last week, Moody's downgraded 15 of the world's biggest banks. But what does this downgrade mean and what impact it has on investors and the instruments which are downgraded? Sidhant explains.
In an increased global uncertain financial environment, rating agencies have become an important force to reckon with. The past 2 months have seen two major rating agencies sound grim on India. S&P has recently said that India may be the first country to be downgraded amongst the BRICS bloc of nations. Fitch and S&P both have changed their outlook on India from stable to negative, but Moody's have kept India's rating at stable. And these ratings have a bearing on policymakers.
In certain areas we have to take appropriate measures, but we have already started taking appropriate measures.
Although there are some dissenting voices when it comes to the prestige of the country.
Even among rating agencies, there is an element of looking over your shoulders to see what others are doing. And given the statements from S&Ps, it was being only to be expected that there would be a similar kind of move on the part of Fitch.
But what does a credit rating mean? Imagine the world is a classroom and credit rating agencies the teachers. Now, on the basis of performance of the economy of each country, rating agencies give grades. The better the grade, better the economy. If a country has a triple A grade, which is the most coveted one, then its economy is performing well. If it's a C, it's not performing well. Now these grades help investors decide whether to put their money in a country or not. A downgrade makes a country or other financial institutions borrow money at a higher rate of interest. Thereby, credit rating agencies help in evaluation of creditworthiness of a country, agency, or a company. But how credit rating agencies rate a particular country is a matter not so transparent. Rating agencies have a big role to play when it comes to guidance of investors. But in an increasingly fragile global environment and irrational markets, one wrong move by these rating agencies can lead to disastrous, irreparable damages. So clearly, rating agencies yield lot of power, but with great power come great responsibility. Sidhant Sibal, DD News, New Delhi.
And joining us is Sidhant to give us more input on that story. Sidhant, you explained to us in a package the importance of these rating agencies. But if you were to just look back in the past couple of weeks, now we know that Fitch and S&P actually changed India's outlook from stable to negative. But, Moody's has kept India's outlook at stable. Now, doesn't that kind of create a confusion in the mind of investors when there's different agencies are giving different takes on different nations?
Actually, it's a kind of positive thing that we have three rating agencies so that there is not a dominance by one rating agency, and probably if there weren't three rating agencies, one rating agency would have yielded so much of power that it could have rattled financial markets like anything. Today, Moody's came out with a fact that saying that India has a stable outlook. It's a kind of a positive news when we compare to the other two negative news which came from Fitch and S&P, and it has kind of provided a breather, even though generally Moody, even though the stability level has been kept at stable, but it's a kind of the same old factors it has taken into account, saying that there is a weak fiscal performance, a tendency towards inflation, uncertain investment policy environment. But the positive point was that it said that the negative trend at the moment is unlikely to become a permanent part in medium term of the Indian economy.
But Sidhant, if you were to look at it from just an investor point of view, now how are investors to know which agency to go by, or do different countries follow different agencies?
Well, it's up to the investor which he prefers as credible. Well, right now the three dominant one are Fitch, S&P and Moody's. Fitch and S&P and Moody's are one of the oldest one, and they have a 40% share of the rating market, while Fitch only has 20%, and S&P and Moody are both in US based, while this Fitch one
is partly Europe based and US based. Every country also has its own credit rating agency, like India has CRISIL, CARE, and these also give a kind of information about various companies and also countries, whether to invest or not to invest. The key question right now which is coming to the mind of all the policymakers are how much accountable these rating agencies are, given the fact that they have been showing a kind of arbitrary downgrades. Well, I can quote you some examples. That Enron case. In Enron case, the company was still in investment grade just 4 days before it went bankrupt. Now coming to Lehman Brothers, the 2008 financial crisis, rating agencies were caught sleeping. So probably it's a kind of a knee-jerk reaction right now that these rating agencies have been working overtime, kind of hyper mood to downgrade one bank, downgrade countries, because at that time it wasn't much. And I'll quote another example. Moody's in 2010 came out with a report saying that Greece is in a stable situation and no need to be worried about this situation. Later on, just 6 weeks after that report, Greece got a bailout. Now, S&P initially just 1 month ago said that India's outlook is going to change from stable to negative. And its investment grade was BBB negative.
Sure.
Now Spain has an investment grade of BBB positive. Now everyone knows how Spain is getting bailouts from various European Union nations, and look at India, it's still in a better position than Spain.
So the big question on accountability is what you're telling us. Sidhant, Sibal, thanks for joining us with that, taking us through all those details of these rating agencies. Moving on, let's take a look